Once upon a time in a quiet little village, there lived a kind and gentle girl named Cinderella. She loved animals, flowers, and sunshine, but sadly her life wasn't easy. She lived with her mean stepmother and two bossy stepsisters who were always yelling, "Cinderella, sweep the floor, wash our clothes, make our breakfast." Cinderella worked all day long, sweeping, scrubbing, and cooking, but she never complained. She wore old clothes and slept in the cold attic. Still, Cinderella stayed kind and cheerful. You know why? Because she had friends, little birds, chubby mice, and even butterflies. They made her smile with songs and silly dances. Sometimes, when no one was looking, Cinderella would sing with them and dream of a better life. She believed that one day something magical would happen. And guess what? She was right. One bright morning in the quiet village, a royal messenger arrived with a golden scroll in his hand. It was an invitation from the palace. The prince was hosting a grand ball to find someone kind and noble to marry. Everyone in the kingdom was invited. Cinderella's stepsisters jumped up and down, screaming with joy. They tried on every fancy dress they had, twirling and giggling in front of the mirror. Their mother proudly nodded, certain one of them would become the future princess. In the corner, Cinderella's heart fluttered. "Oh, how I wish I could go too," she whispered. "You? In a dress? Never!" Her stepmother scoffed with a cruel tone. And just like that, they left her behind, all alone and sad, with only the moonlight and her dreams to keep her company. Cinderella, with a warm and cheerful voice, the fairy godmother spoke. "Don't cry, Cinderella. You shall go to the ball," she reassured. With a swirl of glitter and a wave of her wand, the pumpkin turned into a sparkling golden carriage. The mice, they became beautiful white horses, and Cinderella's dusty rags turned into a shining blue gown, and on her feet, glass slippers that sparkled like stars. With a serious but kind reminder, the fairy godmother added, "But remember, dear, be back by midnight. That's when the magic ends." Cinderella's heart was full of joy and magic as she rode off toward the castle, ready for a night she'd never forget. Once upon a time, in a sparkling royal palace, a grand ball had just begun. Candles twinkled, music floated through the air, and princesses danced in gowns of every color. Suddenly, the golden doors opened. It was Cinderella. She stepped in wearing a magical light blue gown that shimmered like the morning sky. Her soft curls were pinned up beautifully, and her glass slippers sparkled with every graceful step. The whole room fell silent. The prince turned, and his eyes lit up. "May I have this dance?" he asked, bowing politely. Cue soft ballroom music. Cinderella nodded shyly. Together they twirled and spun across the dance floor. They laughed and smiled as if they had always known each other. But suddenly, ding dong, the clock struck midnight. "Oh no!" gasped Cinderella. She ran from the ballroom holding her gown. As she rushed down the palace stairs, her glass slipper slipped off. She didn't have time to go back. The prince picked it up gently. "She's gone," he whispered. "But I'll find her, no matter what." The next morning, the prince sent royal messengers far and wide with the tiny glass slipper. "Whoever this slipper fits," he declared, "will be my princess." And so a magical search began. The next morning, the prince made a royal promise. "Find the girl who fits this glass slipper," he declared. So the royal messengers traveled across the land, visiting every house carrying the tiny sparkling slipper. At one fancy house, two stepsisters were already waiting. Stepsisters. 1. "I'm sure it will fit me." She tried pushing her big foot into the dainty slipper. But ouch, it was way too tight. Stepsister 2. "Move over. Let me try." She wiggled and squished, but the slipper still didn't fit. Then quietly, from the corner of the room, Cinderella stepped forward. She was holding her broom and wearing her usual patched dress. "Stepmother. She doesn't need to try it on. She's just a servant." But the kind royal messenger shook his head. Nagibber said, Every girl in the kingdom gets a chance. Cinderella sat down and gently slid her foot into the slipper. It fit perfectly. The prince, who had come along, stepped forward with wide eyes. Prince, I found you. Cinderella smiled, her heart full of joy. Soon after, there was a grand wedding at the castle. Everyone cheered as Cinderella and the prince danced under twinkling lights. There was music, laughter, and the happiest of hearts. Cinderella was now a princess, but she stayed just as kind as ever. She helped others, cared for animals, and filled the castle with singing and smiles. And from that day on, every day was filled with kindness, dancing, and love. Narrator. And they lived happily ever after.